Hey there, something pretty straightforward this week. I bought this HD capture card and I'd never even heard of these things before, didn't even know they existed. If you're a gamer and you stream games online, you're probably really familiar with these, but I had a specific use case for this. I wanted to capture HDMI output on my Mac so I could get a grab of the video and the audio and use that in one of my other videos. And I didn't even know if that was possible. Did a bit of research online and I saw what I thought I needed. Went down to my local audiovisual store and they had one of these, and they had a couple of different options. They had this one, you can get this online for about $20, pretty cheap. And they go up to much more than that. I've seen some of these HDMI capture boxes for hundreds of dollars, and I was kind of wondering, why is there a difference between these two things? Why are some so cheap? And I guess it comes down to how versatile and reliable they are. And this is pretty good, but it's not perfect. It didn't do certain things I needed it to do. The main use case I had though was I have this refit of a retro 80s computer that was popular in the UK and Ireland called the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This was an old 48K and later 128K machine. Just think about that. 48K compared to the amount of gigs that are going into the modern day computers. And in doing a video about this, which you can check out on my channel, I wanted to be able to capture some of the experience and some of the really cool, limited color, quirky, chiptune vibe of the video games of those days. And the difference between this and maybe the original Spectrum from the 80s is this does have HDMI output. So I wanted to be able to take the output from this and capture the video and the audio on my Mac and then be able to edit that into my movie. So that was my use case for buying this HDMI capture card. It's very, very small. And as I said, only 20 bucks, so not that expensive. And your HDMI output just plugs right in there. Simple enough. And then that goes into the USB port on your Mac, and then you use something like QuickTime, for example, and you click the little arrow beside the record button, and that's where you can specify the video and the audio input. And if you specify the USB port, then you're capturing what's coming across that HDMI cable. That worked beautifully for the Spectrum. That captured the gameplay, and I was able to demonstrate in that video what the experience is like. The Spectrum does go out to a VGA monitor or HDMI TV, but I didn't want to point the camera at that. I wanted to capture the whole thing in as high definition as I could, so it definitely suited that use case perfectly. But a lot more devices go out over HDMI, game machines, cable boxes, various set-top boxes and over-the-top devices, and other computers, not just quirky retro 80s reissues. So I was curious, what else does it do? I definitely see people streaming video games online, so that was one thing I was thinking of. But before it did that, I wanted to see, well, does it capture whatever is going on, say, a Mac? And you can actually take the HDMI output from your Mac and plug it back into the USB port on the same Mac. So you're plugging it into itself and then capture that way. And it works just fine. Obviously capturing set-top boxes or cable, there might be some copyright issues there, so I'm not advising or recommending people go do that. I'm not gonna advise people go and pirate things. But here I'm capturing my own channel, and the video content in this video is from a public domain source, so there's no copyright infringement involved. So that worked fine. Audio, video, perfect. Coming out of the Spectrum computer, coming out of the Mac and back into itself, that's great. But the big use case I heard about with these things was video games. So I plugged my PlayStation into it, and that's kind of where it failed the test. So a 2 out of 3, it's not bad, but it's not great. The video works just fine. You know, this year, the Republic of Ireland soccer team are not in the European Championship that's being played right now. But with my PlayStation, I can actually pretend that's not the case, and I can go and pretend to regain some glory. Unfortunately, I can't capture the glory. The video seems to work just fine, but the audio, I don't even know what that is. So that's kind of where this card let me down, and that's where maybe the $20 card isn't what you're going for. The brand name for this is kind of vague. It just says HD Video Capture on the box, and when you look at the manual, there's no brand name there, but when you look at this warranty card, it's called Digitnow, and if you look that up online, that seems to be the brand name. But I wonder, is it just some kind of label brand name they slapped on top of some generic piece of consumer electronics that's being mass produced somewhere? It strikes me that that's the case. The user guide, it's quite short because there's really only 6 pages in every language, and all it really does is tell you to plug the thing into your USB and then use QuickTime to capture. So there's not a lot of information there. There's no troubleshooting. So with that terrible audio signal, it seems like the signal just isn't even coming across. It's not like it's so loud that it's being distorted or anything like that. It just looks like it's not even arriving properly in the right format. But there's nothing I can do to change the sampling rate of the USB stick that's coming in. I've looked at all the audio settings under the Mac preferences. I've looked in the MIDI audio setup. I've tried to see if there's anything within QuickTime that I can change. I've restarted QuickTime. I even tried a different Mac. That made no difference. So I'm at a bit of a loss to understand why that's happening. It does say that this works with Mac OS 10.9 or later, and I definitely have a later operating system. So it's not that the operating system is too old. I thought maybe the Mac is too old. One of my Macs is from 2009, I think, but I have a much newer Mac and it had the same result there. So after looking up online, Digitnow audio not capturing HDMI card and various combinations thereof, and spending a bunch of time reading through some Reddit boards and Facebook groups and Amazon reviews and trawling through the website for Digitnow and looking for what might be applicable drivers, even though it says there's no driver needed, I basically expended a bunch of time and didn't get a solution. So that for me is a bit of a fail. Maybe there's a solution out there. If you know why that's happening on one of the older PlayStation models, then please educate me in the comments. So it suited my initial purpose of capturing the output from this Sinclair reissue, and it also worked to capture what was happening on my Mac. But when it came to gaming, it didn't work. It fell short. There may be a solution out there that I'm missing that I just don't know. Like I said, I never even heard of these devices up until a few weeks ago, so I'm no expert, but just giving you my thoughts and my findings. This is a 2 out of 3, which, thinking about having something cheap and plug and play, dependable, reliable, universal, it's kind of a fail. It's really got to capture the basics there, and it doesn't. So in terms of this, and in terms of the Republic of Ireland's chances of qualifying for the next World Cup,
but here's Rodriguez, hits it early! Oh no!
And their success at qualifying for the current Euro Cup,
Doherty has to score. Oh, and he's denied! And it's all over in the cruelest fashion for the Republic of Ireland.
It's pretty much a fail across the board there. So that's all I've got for this week on my gear reviews. If you like what you see on the channel, do hit the like button for the video, hit subscribe, and hit that bell icon so that you're notified when I post new content, and I'll see you again in the next video.